Before I get into today's video, just a reminder that this Friday I will be interviewing Brian Flynn from Super 7 right here on the channel. This interview will be live for all Category 2 and 3 channel members, and the recording with some edits will be going live sometime next week when I have a chance to get around to it. But if you want, early access, if you want to see it before anyone else, do consider becoming a channel member. The link is down below. You get early access to this interview. Well, you get live access to the interview, you get access to the emojis, you get access to my videos a little bit early, and it goes a long way to helping me support the work that I do. So please do consider becoming a channel member. I hope to see you this Friday. And with that being said, let's talk about this guy. So last summer, we got our reveal of what the next entry into the MonsterVerse would be. Godzilla x Kong, the new empire, and we got our first glimpse at who we assumed would be the main antagonist of the film. It appeared to be a red ape with very long limbs, and the teaser ended with him on a throne looming over a skull of both Godzilla and Kong. And as far as teasing the next MonsterVerse entry goes, that is a very powerful statement to make, that you have this villain who seems to be capable of taking out both Godzilla and Kong. Shortly after that teaser got posted, KDM on Twitter started tweeting little hints, little teases about how this new enemy would be quite powerful, that he was going to be bigger, stronger, faster than either Godzilla or Kong would be able to handle. And then things went quiet for a bit while the film crew got to work, reshoots, VFX, all that good stuff bringing this movie to life. It wasn't until late in 2023 that we got our first teases of the movie and the promotional campaign, which kicked off with a poster of Scar King's face that said, "Bow to your new king." Again, very powerful imagery that they're using to convey that this is going to be a very serious threat and a really major titan capable of taking on both Godzilla and Kong. And then we got our first trailer in which Scar King makes a brief appearance. They use the seismograph, the thing that goes like he slams the ground, all the apes sort of shudder in fear, he roars, cuts to him on a beach, and then that's it. Then we get to see our first real footage of Godzilla in his evolved form. When that trailer first came out, I voiced some concerns that I was taken aback by the fact there was a distinct lack of action in that trailer. When I think back to the time around Godzilla vs. Kong, that first trailer, Kong punching Godzilla in the face, that was, as I described it, the punch heard around the world. That was the thing that I felt people wanted to watch the movie for, to see these two iconic monsters going at it for the first time in well over 5 decades. But I respected the fact that the promotional team did have some reservations. They were able to hold back. They didn't want to, blow any surprises in that first trailer. And they kept the villain ominous, mysterious, didn't really show off what he was capable of, but you felt his presence as a threat. And that ending shot of Godzilla and Kong running at the camera, you would assume, okay, clearly this must be a big problem because it's taking both of these guys to solve it. And then we got the Playmates toys coming out at the very tail end of 2023 with a street date of very early 2024 when we got Shimo revealed as another monster that would be in the movie and a monster that Godzilla and Kong would also have to deal with. There were a few memes out there comparing Godzilla and Kong to Mario and Luigi, and then Scar King and Shimo were Wario and Waluigi, and it was funny, but it was also kind of cool to see that each of our titular monsters would have a rival or an anti-kaiju to go against in the movie. I do think that antagonist dilution is a real thing. This idea being that the more villains there are in a movie, the less impactful they can be, with probably the one notable exception being Spider-Man No Way Home, where you had 5 villains who all had their previous movies to draw from. Those previous movies did all the heavy lifting, and they got conclusions or redemptions to their character arcs in Spider-Man No Way Home. But in other movies, like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, there were 3 antagonists for Peter to go against, and it just didn't really feel like any of them got their moment to shine. Of all the characters that should have been done properly in that movie, I think it was Venom, and Venom, I think, got the short end of the stick. But anyway, back to Godzilla. So we now know that there are 2 enemy kaiju in the movie, which, okay, I'm cool with that. If there's Kong has his evil primate to go against. Godzilla has his evil dinosaur-like kaiju to go against. And then we got trailer 2. And trailer 2 had all the action that I was hoping to see, the type of stuff that I felt would be more likely to draw in a general audience. But there are two things about that trailer that make me worried that Scar King is going to be a underutilized character and maybe even just a throwaway character altogether. So in trailer 2, we get that same shot of Scar King, arriving to the arena to fight Kong. He comes down, he does his roar. We see very brief look at his fight with Kong where he seems to be able to hold his own against Kong before the scene completely pivots toward a mysterious kaiju, which we all know is Shimo, emerging from what appears to be like a volcanic cave or pocket in the earth to fight Kong. And she blasts his axe and he's able to hold it off while his arm is getting what appears to be frostbite. And in doing that with the trailer, it just feels as though the heaviness and the threat of the Scar King has now been completely replaced by the mystery kaiju that the general audience is not supposed to know ahead of time, even though Playmates went full force on releasing as much Shimo merch as they can. Like, I have 4 Shimo figures in my office area. And by the way, the Playmates just showed off a Battle Roar Shimo and a Giant Shimo, so like, those look great. Sure makes me wish that Hiya Toys will release one. But anyway, the point of the trailer does really seem to hide this mysterious new kaiju while showing her as a threat to Kong, and forgoes the Scar King almost entirely in doing so, as evidenced by this scene. No. If you want people to think that your antagonist is a serious concern, maybe don't show him getting the absolute shit rocked out of him in the trailer to the movie. This reminds me back in 2011, I think it was, when Transformers Dark of the Moon was coming out, and the press releases before the movie were describing that Shockwave was going to be the main antagonist of the film, in coordination with Megatron. Like, Megatron has always been an antagonist in these movies, but everything after the first movie, he's always had another villain in the movie to sort of collaborate with. But they wanted us to know that Shockwave was going to be this new antagonist, and so he got his merchandise, he was in the front of the trailer and the marketing. And then the TV spot came out, which showed Optimus Prime punching clean through his stomach rib area. And so, before the movie's even out, we were all like, you killed Shockwave? All the while, they were just trying to hide that Sentinel Prime was going to be the main antagonist of the film in this big betrayal scene in which he kills Ironhide in cold blood, which I still haven't forgiven Michael Bay for that. But it's that kind of rug pull that I don't really enjoy seeing in my movies. Very rarely does it feel good or deserved or earned to have the rug pulled out from you when the person that you, or the character that you thought was going to be the villain, is not actually the villain. We've seen it with Iron Man 3, we've seen it with Transformers. Call it a hunch, but it almost seems to me like the movie is going to pull this rug out from us where Kong actually does beat Scar King in his first encounter, and then Shimo comes out, and it turns out that the only reason Scar King is this big serious threat is because he has some way of controlling Shimo. Of course, that's just my theory. It could be completely wrong, but I really just want them to do Scar King properly and have him fleshed out as a serious threat to Godzilla and or Kong before you pull out Shimo as the actual antagonist of the movie. And this is especially so because we've been hyped up for over a year at this point on Scar King being this antagonistic force. For those of us who have avoided leaks, Shimo's only recently been put on the playing field to us. And so, I don't want Scar King to be underdone. I don't want him to like lose to Kong in their first encounter, only for him to go up against Shimo and then lose, and then for the rest of the movie to take its events. In the same vein, and maybe on the other side of the table, I also don't want Godzilla to be the main powerhouse of the Godzilla and Kong duo. Like, I want Kong to be able to hold his own in this final fight between the 4 kaiju. I mean, Godzilla was already strong enough to take out Kong, and now he's going to evolve in this movie to presumably become even more strong. And if we find ourselves in a situation where Godzilla just solos Scar King and Shimo, I will be pretty disappointed. I guess Scar King has really just grown on me in all that time since the initial title reveal, just because I do think it's actually cool to see an antagonistic version of Kong. We've never seen that in all of Kong's film history, like an anti-Kong for Kong to go up against. So the idea has really grown on me. You know, his weapon, I think, looks really, really cool, and the fact that he wears it. I just want there to be justice for Scar King. I just want him to be cool. I want him to be, like, an impactful force in the movie. And if we do get that rug pull where, you know, Kong is actually able to take him on no problem, after all of that teasing about him being the new king and him overlooking the skulls of Godzilla and Kong, I will be pretty disappointed. With all of that being said, what do you think of Scar King and what do you think of Shimo? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you to all of the Category 3 channel members for supporting this channel, as well as everyone else that watches, likes, and comments. Your support is absolutely appreciated. Twitter and Discord links are in the description as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.